Hello, welcome to the Heart of Many Things with Michael and
Tom.
This is Heart of Many Things. For those of you who haven't joined us before, we are a bi-weekly podcast talking about a random subject drawn from a hat. Tom, what is the hat this week?
Oh, the hat. This week...
Do you even have a hat this week? Have you not prepared a hat?
I don't have a hat. I'm out of hats. It's a terrible.
You're
occurrence.
Out of hats?
I mean, I might have some other hats that I haven't found. I will...
Does Mikey have a hat? Borrow a hat off Mikey.
I could wear a necker.
Is that short of a neckerchief?
Yeah, as in a scouting one. I have
Why
like
the
20.
f*** do you own a neckerchief?
Because they're scouting ones. I have like...
I forgot they were a thing.
Yeah, I have like one for my group, one for every group I've ever been a part of, and then loads of like novelty ones, including my current kind of thing I'm on the committee for, where we get a high-vis one, which is cool.
Can you turn your neckerchief into a bandana? Bandana's like a hat.
I'll try. It might not be tight enough.
We're wasting so much time trying to make a hat.
Well, you know, this will make for a funny photo. Send it through.
What's the name of this episode? The Improvised Bandana. Tom, what is the subject this week?
This week's subject is TV dramas.
TV dramas specifically. Not theatre dramas, not movie dramas. TV dramas. What does that mean? Like, I had a bit of trouble with this. We drew it from the hat last week, and I started thinking, do I watch any drama? I mean, I might do, I might not do. It depends what you class as drama, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, so I wasn't exactly sure how to put down drama either, so I googled some definitions, basically.
Oh, have we got more than one definition?
We have two definitions. One was the first one I found.
I bet there's more than two out there.
Oh, I'm sure. One is the first one I found, which I quite liked because it was short and pithy. And the second one is the one from Wikipedia, which is maybe a bit verbose. So the first one I found was a series of real-life situations which are exaggerated yet relatable through the use of themes, settings, issues, and narrative. I mean, that covers a lot of things. Because it says a series of real-life situations, it might be missing out a few things. The Wikipedia one expands on that. When used to define a specific genre or type of film or television program, drama is usually qualified with additional terms that specify its particular subgenre, such as political drama, courtroom drama, historical drama, domestic drama, or comedy drama.
The f*** is a comedy drama?
I suppose like a sitcom that's more drama.
Generally, it's comedy or drama, isn't it?
I think it kind of depends.
How dramatic can comedy be?
It can be quite, because you have like docudramas, and then you have comedy docudramas like The Office. You would call The Office a comedy first, but it is in the style of that kind of documentary drama thing.
I would probably call it shit.
Are you talking about the English or the American version?
Oh, the English one. The American one is tolerable. Very rare that you'll get that reaction, that the American version of a remake of the British thing is superior. I think a lot of people I've met feel the same way regarding The Office. A lot of it simply comes down to the fact that Ricky Gervais is an absolute basket.
Fair enough.
People just don't like him. They don't like watching him.
It's probably something we could get back to later, but yes, my feelings on The Office are the first two seasons, the first season and a bit of the American one, where they're copying the English one, is nowhere near as good as the English equivalent of that bit, because they're trying to do English comedy through an American lens, and they're just kind of stuffing it up. It's not as good. Even if you don't like Ricky Gervais, the people around him were good. But the later seasons of the American one, where it's its own show based on those characters in an American context, is actually very funny and probably, yes, outstrips the original. Also, Steve Carell's easier to deal with.
Yeah, I remember Ricky Gervais saying in an interview, and he got a lot of flack for it though, saying when he made the British one, he made art. You know, it was mirroring life, and when he made the American one, he was just making something for TV for money, and that there was no art to it, and he really wasn't proud of it, or it was just trashier in his opinion. But yeah, I think it was more enjoyable to watch, to be honest. That was a bit of a segue. I've looked up an alternate definition to see what we come up with. The Urban Dictionary did not have TV drama, but it says drama. Apparently, drama is something that women and teenage girls thrive on, consisting of any number of situations that have an easy solution which would bring a fairly decent outcome. But these girls choose another shitty, bad way to deal with it, again consisting of backstabbing, blackmailing, gossiping, betraying, or the all too common, I want to break up with him but I still love him. So clearly whoever wrote that is a sex piece of shit. Jim from October 1st, 2005. I much prefer the second one. The second one from 2003, written by Ashley St. Clair, making a big deal over something unnecessarily. I think that sums it up a bit more. So, yeah, drama is making a big deal about something, isn't it? So I guess TV drama is TV that makes a big deal out of things.
I think it's important to make the distinction between reality TV, which I don't think most people would count as a drama, and then something like a soap where it's been written.
Reality TV becomes all too full of drama when people actually watch it and care about it and seem to think the people in it are interesting or genuine in some way.
I mean, no, I'm not dismissing that reality TV has a reason for watching it. I just mean, for the purposes of what we're going to be talking about here.
Oh, no, sorry, I was saying it's dramatic, so in a way it's still drama, but no, it would not fall within our category.
Yeah, that's. I think that's what I was just trying to put down up front, because this is kind of an introductory episode. We're going to come back to various topics.
Let's play the quickfire game.
Yep.
What is drama and what isn't drama, okay?
Okay,
so
yep, I like
the quickfire game from last week, you remember that? Game of Thrones.
I think that counts as fantasy drama, yes.
Okay, go.
House.
Yeah, I think that's the only category it falls into, rather, isn't it?
Yeah, I think I would put it under medical drama.
Yeah, or investigative drama.
Yeah.
Very serialised, though. Very samey.
Yes.
I don't understand how you can maintain drama when you have such a serialised format. Because there's no dramatic tension when you're following the same formula all the time.
Well, I think the thing that happens there is you'll see it in series like House. House is probably a good example where, to start off with, it's quite formulaic, and the interest comes from, the novelty of the week. And this phrase, there's tropes abound here, but it's obviously an illness of the week in House. But you get monster of the week episodes of sci-fi shows, which are similar, like Doctor Who does this a lot.
Episodes.
Yeah, but you can get those kind of episodes, and you do have to have something that progresses the overall plot. But something like House will have interactions between the characters. Characters will come and go, and that is where the drama lies. It's the interpersonal relationships.
Big Bang Theory.
I think that's more in the comedy camp. Like, yes, there is drama, as in your definition you gave earlier, in it. But I think from episode to episode, the change to the characters is nowhere near as pronounced. If you start at season 1 and go all the way to season 9, then yes, there are some big character changes. People have been in relationships, broken up, and so on and so forth. But I think the thing there is, with the sitcom, they always try and get it back to roughly the same position they started.
But now juxtapose that with, say, Scrubs.
I think for me, Scrubs would also fall more into comedy. There's more character development in that.
I would say it's comedy, but there are certain episodes of Scrubs that would stand out as drama, even if the whole show doesn't.
Yes.
Oh, you know what? We should probably have done this right at the start, but let's just stick a big old spoiler warning on this whole episode.
Yes, okay.
We're going to discuss shows we've seen. We're going to discuss shows that may have just been released of Game of Thrones.
We can't discuss this season, though, because I have not seen all of it yet.
How can you do this to me? We're doing an episode on drama and you've not caught up with Game of Thrones, you massive stain.
I do want to watch it. I've seen the first episode, and then I've just fallen behind because I've been in a field for a week.
That is no excuse. You should have just made up your own episode and given people wooden swords. Like, well, this is what happened in episode 2. Well, in my episode of 2, John found a unicorn.
As a way of making it up to you, we can add in Game of Thrones as a whole topic into the hat, and we can come back to that in the future.
Peter Dinklage, Peter Dinklage, Peter Dinklage, Peter Dinklage, Peter Dinklage.
Have you seen Gay Men of the Night's Watch?
No.
It's a brilliant...
I don't imagine it's very dramatic.
What they did was they took scenes from earlier episodes with John and Sam looking at each other and some other discussions with other characters when they're in the Night's Watch. And then they, instead of having the normal dramatic music over it, they have a smooth jazz version of the Game of Thrones theme tune, and it's like a homoerotic masterpiece. It's only about 4 minutes.
We're really bad at quickfire rounds because we keep getting sidetracked every time one's mentioned. Shoot. It's your go.
Is it my go? Oh, yes, you did. You did Scrubs. EastEnders. For our American listeners, that is a British soap.
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say it wants to be, but I think that the word drama usually implies a certain level of quality that isn't there in a soap. And I think that's why a soap is called a soap, not a drama.
That's interesting because when I looked up the Wikipedia list, under genres, they included soap. But I think when I have the same reaction when someone says drama to me, I can see how soaps came from the same roots. And there's obviously character development from episode to episode. And in fact, probably more drastic than in the sitcom kind of things. You have characters being killed off or in other ways being written out of the show because they run for such a long time and they're at the point where they're basically producing every day or every week.
But you mentioned earlier, when talking about comedies and comedy dramas. You mentioned character development, and you expect in a drama a certain degree of character development at a certain pace. And I don't think that you get the same quality of character development or writing in a soap, and I think that's there's reasons for that. You know, they're generally quite low budget. They're generally serialized. You know, just again. Like I say, there's multiple episodes per week. It's never not filming, and as a result, of course, any artistic integrity, you know, put that in some parenthesis, please, is going to be very watered down.
I mean, soaps are interesting because I think it depends from where they are. Like, there's a whole... everything is shades of grey. There's always a range of things. But EastEnders has always tried to...
Yeah, compare EastEnders to Hollyoaks, you know. There's a distinct difference in the quality of the acting and storytelling.
Like, I would describe Hollyoaks as vapid.
I would describe Hollyoaks as a vehicle for selling calendars of women in bikinis.
That's a marketing angle I wasn't aware of.
Are you not aware of that?
No.
I'm fairly certain the show probably makes more money from its bikini calendars than the show. I mean, I'm not certain of that at all, but, you know, as a comedic point, no, Hollyoaks goes out of its way to hire a lot of good-looking women and put them in calendars.
I just wasn't aware of that at all. To me, Hollyoaks is the TV show that would be put on at dinner time when I was in halls, because...
Check the show notes for the calendars, guys.
Yeah, I'll try and find that to prove the point.
I'm sure you will.
I remember we had a TV in our kitchen in halls, and it was owned by one of the girls, and she liked Hollyoaks, and so we were playing Halo nearly all the time, and then Hollyoaks time would happen, and we'd all leave the room.
Did you ever just, you know, like, slap her in sheer rage?
No, it was her TV.
It's really bad.
We literally left the room. I don't think I've ever watched an episode.
What you should have done is, like, printed off just a still picture and taped it over the screen, and then, like, there you go, I've improved your show. Possibly a calendar.
Just change it every day to another page of the calendar, see if she notices. Yeah. It's
like a flick book. That's all Hollyoaks episode is a flick book of the Hollyoaks calendar.
But yeah, the point I just wanted to briefly touch on there is, so compared to something like Hollyoaks, which I would, you know, I don't see the entertainment value in it, but clearly some people believe that sounds so condescending. Other people obviously see some.
But we're not going to see value in it, Tom, because we're pretentious middle-class white men.
There is that, yes. But at least we're aware of it. But yeah, so something like EastEnders would... I don't know if this is true of, like, American soaps. I couldn't name an American soap.
Dynasty.
Oh, yeah, okay. I've heard of it. I've never watched it, but that's because it came out in like, the 70s. I can name an American
soap. I don't know when it was out. I just know it existed.
They would have episodes in EastEnders that would deal with things, you know, really dark topics, and at the end they'd always have like the message: if you or someone you know has been affected by... Sorry, let me put on my BBC announcer voice. If you or anyone you know has been affected by issues that arose in this episode, ring this free phone number now.
Where Brian Cox will soothe you by talking about the stars. So your licence payer money at work. So, point 3 you've got on this agenda is how we feel about drama. The feels. Tom, how do you feel about drama?
I would say let's have a look at what I watch. As a vague percentages, I probably could get numbers. I do use a service that tracks what episodes you're watching because it syncs with my server, which has so that I know what TV episodes I'm watching and stuff.
I don't do anything so sophisticated.
What I'm saying is I'm sure I could find out if I wanted, and I've only just started using Netflix. I'm sure that has a similar thing where you can find out like the breakdown of what it is you're watching. I would say the thing I watch the most of are sitcoms because I don't have to pay as much attention to them. And that's because often I'm doing something else and I just kind of want background noise. So I don't think Big Bang Theory is excellent television, but I have watched like every episode up to the middle of season 7 because I had seasons 1 to 6 on Blu-ray.
Big Bang Theory, I think I stopped watching around season 6.
That's when I ran out of Blu-rays, but now I've got Netflix, so I can watch it again.
It's now on season
9,
what,
10? 11? Who knows?
And I believe that the bloke that plays Sheldon and the lady that plays Penny are the 2 highest paid television actors in the world.
Oh, are they? I mean,
Yes.
I know it tends to go up, as it did with the cast of Friends, for example, who are on like $1 million an episode at the end. I hadn't realised.
Although the cast from Friends did the interesting thing where they all agreed at the start of the show that they would all be paid the same as whoever was paid the least. And they kept the same salary all the way throughout the show. Or the same salary equal among each other, not the same salary.
I didn't know that, but that's good to hear. I mean, I like it when people do stuff like that. That's one way to ensure equality of payment for people, so that's quite good. I was surprised to find the other day, actually, there's a spin-off show of Big Bang Theory called Young Sheldon, which shows you the series has been running long enough. Yeah.
That sounds absolutely awful. I mean, we're supposed to be discussing drama, which I don't think Big Bang Theory qualifies as. I have mixed feelings about Big Bang Theory, which would be best explained in a comedy episode rather than a drama episode. So, what else have you been watching recently? That we'll pick out something that we think is drama when we get to it. We know what you haven't been watching.
So back to kind of the overview of what I watch. Comedy is probably the highest thing, just because, as I say, I can watch it in the background. The thing I watch probably the least of is anything with subtitles, such as anime and stuff like that. There are stuff I want to watch, but the effort involved in putting on something where I have to pay attention 100% of the time.
Right, yeah.
Well, so it's not the effort. I want to put in the effort to watch something, but it's finding the time where I can sit down and be like, I have 2 hours, I'm going to watch 2 episodes dedicated. Yeah, exactly.
Where you can concentrate on
it. And especially when it's something just I'm watching, as opposed to watching with my housemate or my girlfriend. For example, Attack on Titan is something I started watching on my own, so I want to watch it.
Attack on Titan I would call an anime drama, yeah.
Yeah. But I've watched maybe 3 episodes because... And bearing in mind it's been out, 2-3 years or something? I don't know. Well, let's say I've seen 3 episodes of it. I'm not exactly sure how many I have seen, but the problem with that is it's a series I've watched on my own, and there's no one I'm watching it with, which means when I sit down of an evening, during the week I have quite a few things going on. When it's the weekend and I can relax, I'm with other people, so I will watch something that we all want to watch. And that's where that's kind of affects what I'm watching at the moment. So people are always like, oh, you should watch Breaking Bad, but because I'm not watching Breaking Bad with anyone, it's on my big long list of things I need to watch. Which at this point has got to the ridiculous level where, like, you know, there are so many spoilers out there that I kind of have to just not care about it anymore.
So I've not watched Breaking Bad. I've seen a couple of episodes that are here and there as other people are watching them. It seems like a very well-made show. It does seem like something I might want to watch one day, but I've got a bit of a gripe with modern drama, Tom. There is a trend in the last 5 years, I'd say, of shows being very, quote-unquote, edgy, right? And I'm going to use a show that a lot of my friends tried to get me to watch as an example, and that is Sons of Anarchy. Now, they're doing the thing that everyone else does, where, you know, you don't know what's going to happen to who, everyone has brutal things happen to them, everything's dead shocking. But my problem with Sons of Anarchy is everybody in that show is just a fucking nasty person. They're just horrible people. And that means that when these bad things happen to them, or they do bad things to each other, I don't care.
Yeah. No, you need to be able to empathise.
There is no shock or empathy or anything. There's just, oh, look, bad people have done bad things, and now bad things are happening to them. And they're all as bad as each other. And there's no... I just don't have a reason to care about the characters. But it's so popular, and so many of my friends love it. But, I mean, other shows, like, you know, without going into spoiler territory, because I've not seen all of it, like Breaking Bad, it's very, you know, well known by this point, and people who haven't watched it, that it is a show of a man descending into further nastiness. And a lot of these shows are very dark and edgy and gritty, but they lose any sort of protagonist at the end of it.
But I think maybe, again, not having watched both of them... I mean, I haven't watched any of Sons of Anarchy, and as you say, I've watched maybe... Similar to you, I've watched maybe 1 or 2 episodes of Breaking Bad. I think the difference there is Breaking Bad is about mostly the story of one man who at the start you're supposed to empathise with, and it's supposed to be taking that person to the extreme. So that's a single story. Whereas with...
And that's a show I do want to give a shot to at some point.
That's probably the key point. The thing that interests you in dramas is seeing that kind of thing happen. A character or two you really empathise with going through, and it can be anything, like it can be situation you empathise with, or it can be a situation you've never had any experience of, but at the start they hook you by making you think that person's like you, and then you see how they deal with it, and like you then put your thoughts of how you would deal with that situation into it.
So, have you been watching any dramas recently?
I rewatched season 6 of Game of Thrones, and then, as I say, I'm not got up on season 7. I've seen bits of Orange is the New Black, but I'm not up to date on that. It was just interesting to see like 5 or 6 episodes last Sunday when we got Netflix set up.
Okay.
What else have I been watching that I would consider a drama? I'm probably quite behind on things I would consider a drama. Yeah, I mean, as I say, I've not really been watching as much TV as normal.
So I've watched 3 seasons of something recently. I would say it's a comedy drama. I would definitely recommend it. I have watched Bojack Horseman.
Oh, okay. By that definition, I've been watching Archer recently as well, which I would probably...
No, I actually would not. Archer's just a comedy show.
Right.
There's no real character development in Archer, is there? Let's be honest.
Not for Archer, anyway. For the other characters, maybe.
Not even for them. They're all the same character they were at the start of the show, really.
It's a bit confusing now, because in the latest season, it's all a dream.
Bojack is animated.
Yeah.
It has comedy. But it's not realistic in that he's a horse dude.
Yeah.
And there are owl people and cat people and all sorts. And you get some very bizarre comedy as a result of that. But it is really realistic in terms of relationships between people. And the main character is an old sitcom star from the 90s who's still living on his old fame.
Yeah.
Who's not done or achieved anything since, has fallen into alcoholism and is incredibly bitter about, his family life, his career, and constantly drives people around him away by making absolutely terrible life choices. And he genuinely hates himself for making these life choices, but doesn't seem to be able to break the cycle or the habit. And as a result, it's a really quite, it's a funny show, but it's also a show with some real depth to it.
Yeah. So this is probably a perfect example of not judging a show by its cover, because I assumed, based on the kind of places I saw and the kind of people I saw sharing Bojack Horseman,
that it would be like Archer.
Basically, yeah. I thought it was Archer, but the guy's a horse instead. Maybe more of an alcoholic, maybe less. I knew alcoholism was a big thing in the show, but then Archer's drinking all the time. So I just assumed it would be that kind of show.
In Archer, it's just he necks something, shouts woo, and does something frat boy-esque, yeah?
Yeah.
Whereas in Bojack Horseman, he gets drunk, makes horrible life choices, crashes his car, ruins his friendships, and overdoses on something, yes. And has to deal with the consequences and the fallout of that, and it keeps the continuity throughout the show.
Yeah.
So it really did surprise me. It took me a couple of episodes to get into it. Once, like you said, you see it and you assume it's something, and it's not what you assume it is. Again,
it's on my list, but in my head it was something I'd watch in a comedy style, so now I'm going to have to put more time for it.
So a moment that really stood out, without any spoilers, just a quote. He's in a relationship and it's not going great, and the person says to him, "The funny thing is, when you see everything through rose-tinted glasses, all the red flags just look like flags." And that's just such a really quite poignant thing to get in an animated comedy drama about a horseman.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean that's not the kind of show I expected it to be at all.
It's really well written, but you have to watch it throughout and get the character development throughout the first season to really appreciate it, I think.
Yeah.
You compare it to Archer or Rick and Morty, which are just comedies.
Yes.
There's no drama in either of them.
No, yeah. Rick and Morty is another thing I've been watching recently, and didn't bring it up because I don't consider it a drama. Because it's not. But it's very funny. And again,
it's incredibly
we'll
dark.
do comedies another time. We'll stop getting sidetracked by comedies.
Comedies are just too easy to talk about. So I don't read a lot. I don't watch a lot of drama. I think for the same reason you do. It's very intense. I think intensity is a requisite of drama.
Yes, and I think that's probably kind of what I was trying to say earlier when I was talking about putting people into situations. You want to see if there's no intensity, then no drama can happen.
Yes.
So the
and for drama to happen, you have to take a status quo, and you have to disturb a status quo.
Exactly.
You have to disrupt an existing status quo and throw in complications for drama to happen. The Flash and Arrow, I think I would call drama, but they're superhero drama.
Yeah.
I actually gave up on those in the most recent seasons. I might go back to them eventually, but I feel like the quality has gone down, and I also feel like since Netflix started doing their Marvel stuff, it's eclipsed it. So, you started watching Arrow Season 1, you're like, oh, this is quite dark and gritty, I like this.
Yeah. And
then Daredevil comes out, and all of a sudden, Arrow just looks camp. I'm sorry, I really like Stephen Amell. He's a great guy, like, in and out of the show. He seems like an absolutely great guy, great with his fan base, great with the charity work he does. But Daredevil makes Arrow look like a kid's cartoon.
Daredevil is also on my list, but I have Netflix now, so...
So you've not seen Daredevil?
Not seen Daredevil. I think I've watched the first episode and I was like, this is really good. I need time to watch this. This is going to be a recurring theme.
Stop. Tell me you've seen Jessica Jones.
Nope, that's another reason I've signed up for
Right,
Netflix.
We're done. Episode over. Go watch it. We're going to finish this episode when you've seen Jessica Jones.
We can do an episode on Jessica Jones as a follow-up. There's a lot of drama to talk about that's not...
I'm not even joking. I'm seriously considering just terminating this call and then calling you back on Sunday when you've seen Jessica Jones. I'm not going to be able to see Jessica. I literally will not be able to see it in that time. Yeah, I'm about... I was about 65% inclined to do that.
See, this is the problem. This is exactly what I was like. I know I want to see Jessica Jones. I'll probably do it as a binge one weekend, but which weekend do I have free between now and October?
As far as I'm concerned, Jessica Jones should be bumped to the top of your list. Whatever else is on that list in terms of drama, move it down.
It's part of the reason I've signed up for Netflix. So it was already...
It is David Tennant's best role.
Oh yeah, I know it's got David Tennant
Bar none.
And it's like one season, which makes it a lot easier to watch. Because the problem with a lot of things is there's 7 seasons to watch now. So it will probably be one of the first things I'll watch, but I can't promise I'd get it done in the next week. It's
so good.
I know, I've heard.
It's not superhero drama either. There are a couple of powers involved, but I would not call it superhero. Jessica Jones is not a hero. She's not a heroine. She's a main character, but there's not really anything heroic about her. And I also think, as a show, without going into detail about it, I think it was really important in some regards. In that, I do think that there is a push, and I agree with the push to get more female protagonists and female main characters and stuff. But Jessica Jones is important in that it does what I think it should be done the right way, which is it's not Whedon waif-fu. Do you know the term waif-fu?
Waifu, yes. I know what you mean.
Not like waifu, not like my anime wife.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Like waif-fu, like kung fu, but waifs.
Oh,
so
sorry.
Joss Whedon, You've got Buffy, you've got River Tam.
Yes,
you've got all these little skinny, hyper competent combat. The typical Whedon females, where they're very perfect. They're put on a pedestal in every way. Jessica Jones is not one of these. She is just a horribly twisted, flawed person for very understandable reasons that get explained throughout the show, and it's just so well written. And I think it's really important and good to have a really high-profile female main character who is just dealing with issues and isn't put on a pedestal as some sort of perfect glorified woman.
I just want to push back a little bit there, because River Tam, you don't really get to see much of her, because there was one season of Firefly. Not even one season. 13 episodes, I think? Basically,
well then Serenity happened.
That's true, but, people dispute whether Serenity counts. But my point being, and also that was a mainstream movie.
People can't
which has
dispute whether Serenity counts. It was made by Joss Whedon and it was a follow-on to the show. It counts. There is no debate.
The internet.
What debate is there to be had?
The internet's debate with you is they killed all my favourite characters. How dare you?
That's like when people get upset with me for reminding them that Highlander 2 exists. It exists. You can ignore it, but it exists. It's canon.
Not going to dispute the point with River, but
I'm gonna aggravate everybody that's going to listen to this. All 5 people. Okay, Firefly. It's a good drama. It is the single most overrated show that has ever existed.
The reason I'm taking so long to respond is I was just trying to think of a counterexample, but I probably can't. I mean, I really enjoyed it. For me, it lived up to the hype my friends gave it, but that was some mates recommending a good show.
It is very good, but no show can or will ever be as good as the Firefly fan base makes Firefly out to be.
Yeah.
It's really good. but nothing is as good as they say Firefly is.
Yeah. No, I see that. And there's still people trying to push for a new season of it or whatever, and they're just like, guys, give it a rest now. It's been 12 years?
Yeah.
No. Yes. Was it 2005? I think it was 12 years. So, yeah. Anyway.
I'm still waiting for Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog too.
Me too. I love that. I also love the musical commentary version on the Blu-ray, which if you haven't seen, you have to come out and see.
Better than Neil.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Better than Neil. That will go in the show notes because that's brilliant. But yes, sorry, briefly to finish off my point, River Tam aside, while Buffy is, she's an attractive actress, we're playing a very powerful character. Like, that's the whole point of her. She is the chosen one, and that has
and
the problems.
At the time, it was kind of needed as well.
Yes, I think that's the point I want to make. Like, we might not be in a position where something like Jessica Jones could exist if it weren't for some of the shows like Buffy that opened up that kind of thing.
Conceded. I wouldn't even try and argue against that. I just think it's the next step.
No, I just wanted to throw that in there because I know how many people care about Buffy. A lot, nearly all of my female friends who are nerds, like, that was one of their first shows they saw where they were like, oh, there's an actual female character. And while she is really powerful all the time, the characters around her are more interesting, and she does have her faults and things as well, which are explored in the show, just not to the extent as I assume Jessica Jones is based on what I know about it, having not seen it.
Yeah. So I think what I'm trying to say, is that Jessica Jones is the next step in, oh God, for lack of a better term, the feminist agenda when it comes to film and TV.
Maybe feminist movement is a better way.
I don't think of as agenda as a bad thing. I know some people see a devious connotation in there, but that's not what I mean. An agenda is just a list of items and things you want to achieve.
No, I understand that, but I mean, if someone's going to nitpick on words, they might be like, "Oh, feminist agenda." Whereas,
yeah, but that's fine. They can start an argument in the comments, and then we'll actually have some comments.
Okay.
So yeah, no, that show's phenomenal. Daredevil's great. Daredevil season 2 is really good. John Bernthal does an amazing job as the Punisher. Luke Cage, once again, they did a great job of that. Although I think the second half of it's weaker than the first half of it, but it does a really good job once again of making social movements in that there are very few white characters at all in that show.
Yeah.
But it's set in Harlem. Why would there be?
Yeah.
And people kicked off about it. They were just saying, "Oh, it's racism. There's no white people. You know, why don't we have to have a certain number of white people in the show like we do with other ethnicities and other shows?" And honestly, I don't agree with having a quota of certain ethnicities you have to display on the screen unless it makes sense in the setting. Like, if it's set in London, yeah, it should be really mixed race. If it's set in New York, it should be really mixed race in certain areas. If it's set in a small village in Shropshire, it should probably mostly be white people.
Yeah.
And that show is set in Harlem. There is no reason why it shouldn't be, majority black.
Yeah, exactly.
And they did a great job of that.
Again, that's on the list a bit lower down than Jessica Jones, but
yeah. And then once again, they've got Iron Fist.
I heard Iron Fist
which
wasn't
is the
so
last
great,
one they did.
but
I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. I think a lot of the criticism of it was not actually aimed at the show or the quality of the show, and was more aimed at ideological bases. So,
that's interesting because all of the criticism I heard were about the quality of the writing and how it changed from episode to episode, and it seemed to be like, here's a good episode, and then next episode that character is completely
out those same people probably raved about Luke Cage, which really went downhill halfway through the show, in my opinion. The first half, great bad guys, great plot, great pacing, and then the second half was just sloppy. And people go on and on about how good that one was. So, I think that Iron Fist was not as good as Daredevil or Jessica Jones, was about as good as Luke Cage, maybe a little bit better. Most of the criticism I read about it centred on the fact that the main character is rich and white and whiny.
I see. I've heard completely different things, but then I've literally heard nothing about Luke Cage. So I haven't heard people saying it's great or people saying it's bad. So I just know
if
it
you
exists.
look up critical sort of commentary and criticism of Iron Fist online, it's mostly centred around the fact that he's a rich whiny white boy. And do we really need another rich white superhero? I
mean, that's like 90% of superheroes, right? Yeah. While we're still on the topic of Marvel dramas, one that I'm only halfway through. I saw season 1.
Please bring up Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I haven't got. Well, we can talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in a minute, but I was going to say Hayley Atwell in Agent Carter was really good.
Ooh, Agent Carter was good.
And that was interesting because it was, again, as maybe something that helped build to Jessica Jones. Putting someone who is, she's a strong character, but she has her flaws and everything. She's an interesting character. She's not like a Mary Sue character, but they put her in.
So one of the most interesting things about it is the time
exactly.
period.
Yes,
you have a strong female character in a time period when no one would take a strong female seriously, or very few people, and that's why it works.
Yeah, I mean, the perfect example is actually the short that played before they released the series that I think was on Thor 2's extras on the Blu-ray, where like all the men are just like making her answer the phone and stuff, and she's obviously been a war hero, but she can't tell anyone because it's top secret stuff, and then she just goes and solves some case all on her own, and then that leads to her being hired and goes into season 1. And
really good show, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I really enjoyed. Very weak start. Most of season 1 is not great, very monster of the week, but it all wraps up really well at the end.
Is it finished now?
Without ruining it for anyone.
Is it
the show? No, I don't think it's finished.
So when you said it wrapped up, you mean season 1 wrapped up?
Yeah. And they've got Inhumans coming out soon, which I'm hesitant about.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched a lot more of Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. than some of the other stuff we've been discussing, but I haven't got entirely up to date. I got to the point where the Inhumans storyline was in full flow and stuff like that, so it was definitely getting more interesting. But I was kind of forcing myself to catch up every time there was a major Marvel movie in case there was some tie-in with the major Marvel movie, and then I just kind of fell out of it after Avengers 2. So I might be a season behind at this point.
So I've just had a quick look. Runaways is scheduled to premiere in November on Hulu. So it looks like Netflix haven't got all the Marvel stuff.
Okay. I don't have Hulu, so that's irritating.
For those who aren't aware, Runaways is a very good Marvel comic run, which centres around the children of supervillains who find out their parents are supervillains and run away from home.
Oh, cool. That sounds interesting. I wasn't aware of the comic.
Cloak and Dagger is also due out. When's that due out? Which I don't have seen the trailers for. That looks really good. We'll find that and we'll put it in the comments. That's due out in 2018 on Freeform Network.
What network? Sorry, I didn't quite hear you.
Freeform, apparently.
I don't know. I can't keep my head around all the American networks. It's much easier when you have like 3
ABC.
things. ABC. I've heard of ABC.
It's an ABC.
So yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'll be interested in that. In case anyone can't tell, I really like my superhero stuff. Really like it. And there's a lot of really highly rated dramas I've never seen. I've never seen The Wire. I've never seen 24. I've never seen Made Men. Never seen Deadwood or The Sopranos. I've not seen Westworld, which people rate.
Westworld is one that's on my list because, again, there's only one season of it at the moment, so I feel I can jump into it. I've heard some kind of spoiler-free reviews. I know the basic concept, and it does sound interesting.
Yeah, I know the concept. It's based on an old film, isn't it?
Yes. And again, I'd also like to probably see that if the film... It's always interesting to kind of compare the original with the updated version.
I've read that Carl Urban is in talks to resume his role as Dredd in a TV series, but that rumour's been around for a very long time.
Yeah, I saw that recently, so that maybe... I don't know if that's just the rumour mill starting again, or he's actually said something, because I didn't have time to read the article. Too busy right now.
One I found out about yesterday, in fact. Netflix have bought Millarworld.
Yes, I read that today as well.
So we may well be getting Kingsman and Kick-Ass spin-offs or TV series on Netflix.
That'd be cool, because I only just saw the Kingsman movie. Again, thanks to Netflix, because it was been on my list for a long, long time, and that was brilliant. And I'd love to see a TV show of that, if they could keep up that kind of... Obviously, it won't be necessarily as big budget as the movie was, but that kind of comedy and riffing on old James Bond kind of tropes, I enjoy that kind of stuff. It's why I like Archer and other stuff as well.
Archer had a crossover.
I know. That's on my list of saved things on Facebook to watch. But I couldn't watch it until I'd seen the Kingsman movie, so that's why I hadn't got around to seeing it. But I will put that in the show notes.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of other dramas, like if we step away from superheroes, I don't actually watch a lot of other dramas, I don't think. My partner, she really likes her period dramas.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. So I have watched period dramas. When I was a kid, I watched a lot more period dramas. They did a whole range of Jane Austen, Jane Austen, Charles Dickens kind of stuff on TV.
I'm going to segue just for a second because I need to rant, but you've triggered me. All right, Jane Austen. She is the most boring woman who had the most boring life and wrote the most boring books.
Have you read Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, though? Because that really ups the ante.
It's not really Jane Austen.
No, it's co-written with Jane Austen, I believe is how they put it on the book. But Mr. Darcy, have you seen my ninjas? But yes.
So yeah, I'm not really into a lot of other dramas, period dramas. I generally watch anything that's fantasy or medieval based. I loved Vikings. I'm really looking forward to the new season. Have you seen Vikings?
I've seen a few episodes of Vikings because it's on Amazon Prime, and that's...
The main character, Ragnar, is just phenomenal, and the actor that plays him does such a good job.
Again, it was something I started watching, I was like, oh, this is really good. My problem with Amazon Prime is it's hard to get it onto things. You have to be like sat on your laptop. It doesn't play well with a Chromecast.
Hey, Tom. Yar har fiddle-dee.
Being a pirate is
what you like, 'cause a pirate is free.
You are a pirate.
We do not condone piracy in any way, shape, or form, nor do we encourage our listeners to participate in it. Wink. No, if you like something, support it.
Yeah, no, I think so.
If you like something and you can afford to give up the cash, get your Netflix or your Amazon subscription or buy a box set. Do support things you like. It's how you ensure more of it gets made. And that's how you don't end up with another Firefly.
Yeah. But
if they make money, they'll make more of it.
I don't actually know how they determine from things like Amazon Prime. With Netflix, like, you pay and you log in and watch stuff, but with Amazon Prime, I'm just paying for every month anyway, and so I also get video. I don't know exactly how they portion that money out.
Yeah, so I do know that the producers for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. said recently, because people were getting concerned about its low viewership rating, and were worried it was going to get cancelled. And the producers behind it said that when you factor in online viewing and on-demand viewing, about a week after it's been released, the viewership is times by 6.
And I think that's a thing people are starting to realise.
Companies are moving away from how many people watched this live when it aired as a metric for how successful a show is. And it is much more becoming how many people watched it on demand on their own time, because that's how people consume media now.
And while the show in question is not a drama, we can talk about it when we do comedy, there's a show I like on the CW called Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, which is a mixture of kind of...
Shut up about comedy.
Again, I'll just mention it. We'll talk about it during comedy. But that...
Crazy Ex-Girlfriend is Rachel Bloom,
that particular series, again, people had the same concerns. Oh, it doesn't have high viewership.
Oh, it does really, really badly, doesn't it, on air?
The CW have come out and said, basically, this generates so much critical acclaim that we have to keep having it just to raise the profile of our network. So it doesn't even matter. Like, if 10 people watch it,
the show does not make that much money. Not that many people watch it, but the people who do watch it love it.
And critically, it keeps getting good reviews. So it's just a thing they can hold up and be like, well, people think this is great. So it's not necessarily all about the numbers anymore.
It's a shiny thing to put on a shelf. So Vikings I really like, and I want to explore more drama in the genre. I do want to see the Tudors. I want to see Black Sails. I want to see BBC's Three Musketeers. I hope it's better than BBC's Robin Hood, because that was incredible.
So, well, I'll briefly mention Black Sails. I started watching at a friend's house, and that's very good. I think it's on a par with Vikings. It's the same kind of production value, and I enjoyed the episodes I watched when I was there. But it was again, same issue. I haven't got around to seeing it all. The Musketeers, I watched the first season and then I fell out of it, which is, I think, what I did with the BBC's Robin Hood. BBC's Robin Hood...
It's very easy to do that with the BBC. The BBC generally don't make the best quality stuff.
Well, I mean, I think it's interesting, like, that those kind of...
They make good documentaries, they make good panel quizzes, but their dramas generally leave something to
They make really good dramas of certain types. Like, they're good at period dramas, for example. But a lot of people love Sherlock, which you could, that's an investigative drama.
Yes, I loved Sherlock for 2 seasons.
Yeah, I think that might be where I fall now as well. I was really opposed to it before I watched it, so it won me over when I watched the first, because I was like, you can't remake Sherlock Holmes with that, because I've seen the Jeremy Brett versions, which are superb, like Victorian versions of it.
Yeah.
Very in keeping, proper period version of it, whereas I was not I was not into it at all, and then I saw the first episode, it won me over. But yeah, season 3 left much to be desired in my mind. Too much hype. Suffered from the same thing. They let it build up for too long, and then you're like, it was okay. And then that was a bit weird.
Yeah, whereas the Reichenbach Falls episode was phenomenal.
And not ruined by the fact that everyone knows how that ends.
Being Human was a good BBC drama.
That was cool. And again, not superheroes exactly, but, kind of, supernatural, but putting people you like into an interesting situation.
Same vein, comedy drama. Did you ever watch Misfits?
No, I missed Misfits. I was told about it.
Misfits was good. It did decline in later seasons, but it was a good show.
That's one where, correct me if I'm wrong, they're superheroes, or they suddenly get powers, but they were all in prison.
Yeah, there are a bunch of kids on parole that get superpowers, and then keep accidentally killing their parole officers.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
I've not watched much sci-fi TV shows recently. I've not watched Doctor Who since Capaldi's first season.
So, Capaldi's first season had some issues, but I like Capaldi, and the good episodes...
I liked Capaldi a lot. I actually thought he did a phenomenal job. I think the Doctor should be old. I think he should be angry.
Well, I mean, I also like the fact that they're changing...
I don't see how you could live for 1,000 years and not be jaded, alien, and angry. It's one of my main issues with David Tennant's Doctor.
You see, I also...
She's a controversial
I also enjoyed David Tennant's one. And I grew to like Matt Smith. In fact, I've...
Oh, Matt Smith was my favourite out of the new one.
It took a while to get used to him because I felt like... For me, David Tennant was... I liked Eccleston. He was very interesting and brooding, and that was a good start to the season. But I just really like David Tennant and everything he's in. And I really liked him in Doctor Who.
Yeah, and that is most people's reaction when you speak about the new Doctors, is that David Tennant set the bar, and David Tennant is the best, and David Tennant is my least favourite of the new Doctors, because he's even remotely alien. And I think that is a major issue in a show like Doctor Who. He's supposed to be an alien, not human. He's supposed to not be the same as us. Or she. She's not supposed to be the same as the rest of us.
So, Capaldi's first season...
Yeah. So he was great, and the good episodes were good, and the bad episodes were bad. And the main issue was a lack of consistency in the tone of the series. You'd go from a dark and gritty episode to a very light-hearted, childish episode, and it was too jarring.
Yeah, and there was some interesting stuff in there. Maisie Williams from Game of Thrones was in 2 episodes. More than 2 episodes, but she had like a double bill, and those were good. She's a character who basically becomes functionally immortal, and has to deal with that and the Doctor.
Yes.
And that was really good. I'm trying to remember now, has Capaldi done 3 seasons? Or is he just on his second? Okay, sorry, that might have been season 2 of Capaldi, which was, I think, maybe that's the one I'm thinking it had really good stuff. So season 2 may have been better overall. I mean, there are many podcasts that watch Doctor Who episodes, and the people I listen to who are on those podcasts, I listen to them on other podcasts where they occasionally mention Doctor Who. They were going on about how Capaldi episodes are getting better and better. And I think there has been a general trend. And the latest season, I'm about halfway through playing catch up because I was travelling a lot and missed it when it aired. That was very good. I like the new companion. She was very interesting. I can't remember if she is the first. She is a bisexual. I believe she's bisexual. Black female actress, character, not actress. And while John Barrowman's character was ostensibly bisexual in the earlier seasons, I think it was just like she, as a point of view character for people watching, people have been applauding her portrayal basically, and she's been interesting to watch. I've enjoyed her take on it. She's also a bit more kind of.
Did you see the new spin-off at all?
Which one?
There was something about a school.
Oh no, I don't think I have seen that. I was aware of Sarah Jane Adventures, but that was kind of too kiddie.
It's called Class.
Oh, okay.
It was a 2016 series.
I did not know that existed.
Produced by Moffat.
I'll have to look into it.
I don't know who wrote it.
Yeah, I'll have to look into it.
Written by Patrick Ness, created by Patrick Ness.
No, I honestly hadn't heard of that. But yeah, I feel like weirdly, while I feel Capaldi episodes have been getting better, I'd kind of been falling out of watching Doctor Who because I no longer have that group of people I watch it with every Saturday, which was a thing I had all the way through uni. So I was super excited when it came back because we grew up in that era without Doctor Who, where you could watch old episodes, they might get aired occasionally, and there was that weird TV movie, which technically my first Doctor Who outing. But yeah,
is that Paul
McGann, my first Doctor.
The most Americanized, suave, romantic Doctor that there has been.
He looks like Oscar Wilde with his foppish haircut and everything. But it got like the sci-fi elements were what got me, even if it wasn't a particularly good movie. I mean, definitely counts as a TV movie as opposed to a movie.
So, we've discussed hospital drama, investigative drama, period drama. We're now on sci-fi. We've discussed, Firefly, Doctor Who. Stargate has got to be one of the all-time classics, right? SG-1.
Yes. Now, this is a season I have watched all the way.
I know people that loved Universe and Atlantis. I've only seen SG-1, and I don't even think I've seen all of it, but I did like it, and I always liked it.
Yeah, I've watched all of SG-1 and 3 seasons of Atlantis before I got... So I had a friend who had all the DVDs. I watched all the DVDs of SG-1, and then they didn't have Atlantis, so I had to get hold of it, and I couldn't get hold of later episodes. But yeah, SG-1 I really enjoyed, even though it suffers from the kind of American series 24 episodes a season or whatever it is, where about half of them are filler, but the characters are really enjoyable.
Yep.
And they did a good game. They did well upping the stakes from season to season, at least through the first 6 or 7 seasons. The last 2 you can ignore because it was just ridiculous. They got rid of the gold and the last 2 seasons ignore. But
is that when they started getting some sort of like nanobot swarm that consumed it?
No, that's like season 5, 6, and that was still kind of ramping up in an interesting way.
Pretty high stakes, yeah.
But
okay, what about Farscape?
Do you
remember Farscape?
I have all of it. I had all of it on DVD and watched some of it then. But my dad got me into that. It was weird because it didn't seem like my dad's kind of show. He was more a kind of Star Trek person and didn't watch any of the weird sci-fi shows, as he would put it. But that I watched maybe a season or 2, but I feel like I was quite young and I don't really remember half of it. Like, I know it had like some kind of spy plot that I don't even remember at all.
A good one was Fringe.
I didn't watch Fringe.
Did you see Fringe?
I didn't watch Fringe.
You didn't watch Fringe. Fringe is good. The gentleman that plays Walter does an absolutely phenomenal job. Tell you what, there's a good older sci-fi one. Steven Spielberg's Taken.
I've never heard of that.
That is a good sci-fi drama.
I've literally never heard of that. I thought I knew everything Steven Spielberg had done. Not heard of it. What was it shown in the UK, or was it only in America and you've then watched it since?
Whereas a bad one, the 4400. Ooh, that was a bad show.
I've heard about that, and I've only heard it described as bad. So
it was a really good idea, really badly acted and shot. But yes, Taken, Spielberg, 2002. It might not be Spielberg. I might have just thought it was.
I think I've heard of the concept. 2002. I'm trying to think how I could have missed it. I mean, that's GCSE's kind of time. Maybe it wasn't on British telly at the time. I didn't have cable or anything. So
yeah, no, it's definitely Spielberg's definitely involved with it.
Cool. I'll have to look into it.
So it's a mini series. It's one series. It's not a particularly long series. The basic explanation on IMDb: 3 families experience alien abductions over a period of 5 decades.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I like the concept.
Really good show.
I'm just trying to think. You mentioned book adaptions.
Yes.
A book I had been told for many years I should read, and I'm already a Neil Gaiman fan anyway, was American Gods. And I finally got round to the audiobook, the 10th anniversary edition, which is very good because it has like 5 voice actors, and it's very good.
American Gods is interesting in the afterword. Neil Gaiman says that he set out to write a long, meandering novel.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he did. It is a long, meandering novel. Takes a very long time to get to the point. Has a lot of side stories in it that have little to nothing to do with the main plot.
Yeah.
But is very interesting. It has some really good concepts.
No, I fell in love with it completely when I listened to the audiobook. And so was then super excited
the adaptation
for the
is good.
TV show. Have you seen all of the TV show?
I've seen half of it. Ian McShane is a very good Mr. Wednesday.
Yes, he's brilliant.
Would you believe there was controversy over the colour of Shadow's skin when they cast him?
I heard there was, and I was like...
People like, oh, why have they made him a coloured bloke? And then Neil Gaiman went, I deliberately described his skin as coffee coloured in the book.
Yeah.
Go reread the book.
And his name is Shadow. Like, it was... he came exactly, like, off the page as the actor. I'd not heard of the actor before, but when I saw him, I was like, that's Shadow. His wife didn't look quite as high I'd imagined her, but
Are you aware of who Shadow is in the wider setting of American Gods?
Do you mean outside of the book?
Yes.
I've only read American Gods. I haven't read Nancy Boys or any of the others.
Okay. Do you want to know?
Yeah. I mean,
you can kind of work out in the book, I guess. I mean, I did.
If it's something I've missed, feel free.
He's bolder.
Oh, okay. Like, I realised there was something to him, but yeah, I hadn't.
I don't know why he doesn't know he's bolder, but he is bolder.
Cool. Back to your point about the kind of meandering and telling side stories. So I think that's something the series has done very well by having like the sections in the book are called "Coming to America," and
the gay sex scene, man.
Oh yeah, the gay sex scene.
That
was pretty.
We
good.
Watched that, and I swear down, my housemate's reaction was, "Did this actually get aired on television in America?"
Yeah. Well, on cable, it's not quite the same. It's like how Game of Thrones.
He couldn't quite believe that. It's a lot more intensely it's just a lot more intense as a gay sex scene than anything Game of Thrones ever did.
True, but there are TV shows that have had equivalently sensual straight sex scenes.
Yeah.
No, I think that is the point. It was. I mean, even things like Queer as Folk, which has both an American and a UK version, never quite got there. And they opened with a scene of rimming, but it wasn't quite that kind of like. This was it was an artsy but sensual but very sexual kind of scene. And I will have to try and find it. There's a brilliant article by the guy who directed American Gods, basically saying how he's always been trying to put more gay scenes into the shows he makes, and they were just being turned down by the studio, and this was the first time they were just like, yup. And Neil Gaiman was like, that's exactly what I didn't actually write into the book, but was implied, so go with it. So yeah, no, that was a very good scene, and I hadn't realised that was halfway through.
To push boundaries.
Yeah. And I think often that's what drama is there for. I mean, dramas do push boundaries, and things like Orange is the New Black have done the same. I've not been watching it all the way through, but I know that
oddly enough, not a show I'm remotely interested in watching.
I kind of chalked it up as one of those shows that's not aimed at me, so it doesn't matter if I don't see it.
Yeah, I mean, I hear it's very good, but it's just.
But having seen a few episodes, I feel I could watch a whole season of it fine, but I'm still not super into it. Similarly, in a similar way, so one of the things I wanted to do in the back, there are quite a few lesbian relationships in that are portrayed pretty well, and there's a range of them because they're in prison. There's the stereotypical ones, but there's also it's a whole range, which I think is why people applaud it. But I know there's obviously this kind of subgenre is the wrong word, but there are gay and lesbian dramas that have been not sidelined exactly, but maybe not as mainstream because they have a niche market.
And they're not making fun of it like Will and Grace.
Yeah. Unlike Will and Grace, where it's kind of a comedic for a wider audience, there are things like The L Word, which all my lesbian friends watched when I was at uni, and that was they were avid watchers of it because they're like, look, there are real lesbians like us on this show, and I think, and even if it is, there's still going to be some stereotyping and stuff because it's a TV show, but it is important that dramas are showing real people in real situations as well as fantasy and sci-fi stuff.
Yeah, and I would like to see more shows doing what, I know I've dropped it now, really, but The Flash, Captain Singh, the police captain in that show, is gay. You don't know he's gay for the majority of the first season, and when you do find out he's gay, it's a throwaway comment. They do not make a big deal out of it. It's not a song and dance. It's not, look, we have a gay character, or look how, it's just, oh, look at this normal character who just happens to have a husband. And that, I think, is where we need to go with it. We need to have gay characters in
No, I think that's very powerful.
We need to not go, look, a gay character, look how progressive we are. Because that's not progressive, that's tokenism. We just need to have them.
In the same way when you find out someone at work is gay, you don't go, ooh, he's gay. Like, you just go, cool, and carry on with your life.
Yeah, and I think we need to do the same thing, going back to the point we made earlier about shows like Jessica Jones, with female leads. It's cool that we have a female Doctor Who, but I think we could have done it without a song and dance.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Because the BBC are really having a circle jerk about it. Look how progressive we are. Look how groundbreaking we are. It's like, you're not, though, because it's actually really in to have a cool female lead at the minute. Look at Star Wars. They've just done it twice. It's not edgy and groundbreaking. It's really mainstream right now. And yeah, it's cool that it's mainstream.
Yeah.
But that means that we should just start accepting it as normal and mainstream and not have to have a big circle jerk about it, because it should just be a normal thing. It should be as normal and as acceptable. And when we make a big deal out of it, we just create more controversy surrounding it. And that's why they do it, I think. And they do it to make more controversy, to make more money.
So I've missed this. Like, it got announced. People on the internet threw a hissy fit because people on the internet throw hissy fits about things. And then like everyone got on with their lives is how I've seen it. But I'm what was the BBC thing?
No, there was definitely song and dance around.
Yes, but I've missed the song and dance. Other than they announced it and she had an interview on Newsnight or something.
Oh, I'll have to go and find them. Yeah, and I might have to eat my words. But me and my housemate were both very, very happy to see a female doctor. But we did, after about a week, think, okay, can we just move on now?
Yeah. Well, yeah, no. I mean, yeah, the discussion around it being controversial went on for too long. But my impression was that was coming from newspapers and stuff, as opposed to the
quite
BBC.
Possibly, and that might be the case. But I think we just need to stop dropping it. And I mean, there'll be a female version or something, or a female lead or something, and a vocal minority, and it really is a tiny number of people, will complain and get up in arms and reverse racism or attempt to get them in. But what they do is they then circulate that and publicise that. And then lots of people get angry, and you'll see way more comments every single time, way more people being angry at these few people than were ever angry about it in the first place. And then more people start feeling the need to defend these people. Whereas if you just let them say what they need to say and ignored them, it would all blow over so fast. But by attacking these people who are complaining, but by attacking these minority of people who are complaining about it, all we do is make the issue bigger than it was in the first place. It's an awful, awful circle. And it just generates money for media sites who thrive on clicks or copies sold or adverts displayed. And they bait, and it's almost like good old race baiting. It's social justice warrior baiting. Let's find a few people who are upset. Let's use those people as examples of scum so we can get everyone else upset. And then other people get upset at those people because those people are being very vitriolic back. And it just becomes a horrible, horrible cycle. And it's all just a cynical way to generate money for these companies. No,
I agree that is a problem, but I don't think the BBC does that because they don't make their money from clicks. I mean, they will report on the fact there was a controversy.
Oh no, definitely not to that extent. No. They were just very proud of themselves. They were just very, very proud of themselves when really they needed to stop smugly patting themselves on the back and just ensure they make a good season of Doctor Who. Because if it isn't a good season of Doctor Who, it will be used as an excuse to not try something like this again for a long time.
Yeah, I think we're still at this annoying stage where that is the same thing that gets said every time there's a movie or every time there's a season with a female lead, and you're like, how many have there been now? It should just be fine. You should just understand that this makes money. I mean, it's always hard to pick apart, but like Star Wars The Force Awakens did really well.
With movies, we're past it. And with TV shows in general, we're past it. But with Doctor Who is a very specific TV show.
And I think, you still see people... in fact, I think even one of the previous Doctors was like, I think it's being done for the wrong reasons. But then Colin Baker was like, no, this is great. Get on with it. Because Colin Baker is clearly a cool dude.
Yeah, and you know what? I feel like it's a good thing, but I don't feel like it's been done for the right reasons. I feel like it's been done just to create controversy, to draw in people because they're viewing them as flag. So I agree with what they've done. I don't agree with with what I perceive as the reasons behind the decision.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable position to hold. I think basically, I live in an echo chamber on Facebook like we all do, but I think I only saw one person who was adamantly against it, and basically they got shouted at by all their female friends, being like, "Look at how good this is," But I think most people are now fairly on board with it, which is how
I just think it's Doctor Who, isn't it? Right? It really, all that matters is whether the quality of the writing and the performance is any good. I mean, in another show, I've seen someone suggest we should have a female James Bond before, and I think, well, you can't, because being a misogynistic prick is an integral part of his character.
Yeah.
It wouldn't work if you made a female James Bond, but a female Doctor Who, fine.
And I mean, it's not like it's not something hasn't been in the DNA of Doctor Who for some time. I mean, there was stuff with Missy and very recently, but I'm pretty certain there's some stuff with Time Lords changing gender in like the original kind of stuff. Because the way it worked was female Time Lords could choose their own appearance the next regeneration. I think it's the Rani who does that, and I think there was something where she could change it to a male appearance. I'm not sure. I'll have to double check. Probably get the nerd shouting.
Was that just a way of trying to objectify women on screen though? I'm going to change into someone pretty.
I've not seen the scene in question. I've seen screenshots of her with different heads, basically, trying out different bodies. I don't know how it was done. It was the 70s, so maybe it was done badly. That's entirely possible. And then of course there's the brilliant comic relief version of Doctor Who. When we thought in the dark years, when we thought we would get no more Doctor Who ever again, they decided to use up all his regenerations in one comic relief episode of about 25 minutes long, and it's brilliant. It has Jonathan Pryce as the Master slowly becoming a Dalek throughout the episode, and it has Rowan Atkinson.
Is this one with...
Yeah, Rowan Atkinson as the Doctor, and the daughter from Ab Fab as his companion, whose name escapes me. And then, he goes through he keeps getting killed throughout the episode and regenerating, and eventually he regenerates into Joanna Lumley, who is excellent as a female Doctor. So if anyone ever needed proof that it could work, admittedly that's in a comedic context, it's brilliant.
Do you know which very, very famous female expressed interest in playing Doctor?
Judi Dench? I don't know.
No, but it is another dame.
Maggie Smith.
Helen Mirren.
Oh, Helen Mirren. She'd be excellent. All three of them would have been excellent. Yeah.
I don't think the BBC could afford her salary.
No, she'd have to do it because she wanted to. A bit like if you've seen her in
Helen
Red.
Mirren expressed an interest in the role.
She'd be good. I mean, if we need to switch to... Because the Jodie Whittaker, that's her name, I remembered. She's relatively... I mean, she's definitely younger than Capaldi, so if they want to go then with an older female Doctor, Helen Mirren would be excellent.
Yeah, I can't think of many women that would do a better job, to be honest. Not in that role.
Yeah, no, I mean, Helen Mirren can have fun in a way. I mean, I'm sure I don't want to say anything bad about Judi Dench or Maggie Smith. It's just the roles they have generally seem a bit more...
Have a lot of gravitas.
Yes, gravitas is exactly the word I was looking for. Whereas Helen Mirren has had a few of those fun roles. Like if you've seen her in Red as this kind of old spy who's...
and that is the exact thing I was thinking.
And that's when you said it, that's exactly what first came to my mind, as that's a perfect example of her having fun with the role, and she'd be great. Yeah. And I mean, it's exciting. I hope it's a good season and proves that there's obviously no... I mean, she's a good actress, so it'll be fine. That's my theory.
I've thought of another good period drama. Did you see Ripper Street?
Oh, I think I did, yes. When was that on?
I saw the first season. I plan to go back and watch the rest of them.
Oh, I thought it was a one-off season. So, okay. I think I'm in the same boat as you.
No, there are multiple seasons.
Okay.
It is, I think, the first season in particular. Whilst it's a good plot, it's a brilliant example of character writing. All these characters have, interesting backstories, interesting reasons for being where they are and behaving the way they do and making the choices they make. They are extremely well-written characters.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything more to add to that. I remember it being good, but I can't remember what I watched.
You know Claire as well, don't you? So Claire is a very big fan of the Danish dramas.
Oh, yes.
Don't know if you've seen any of them. A lot of Danish dramas are being imported over and they're all very...
so there was there
lots
one
of
called...
kidnap and rape and horrible things.
Is Wallander's like a crime investigation one? I've seen quite a few episodes of Wallander at one point.
Is there something called The Bridge as well?
Yeah, I was going to say there's one called The Bridge, which I haven't seen, but I've been told is good. But yeah, doesn't Wallander have Kenneth Branagh in, though? It's like it was intentionally like...
Oh, I could not tell.
I think Wallander was like intentionally a kind of packaging that Danish-style drama, but with English actors so that we would watch it. And it was very good, and Kenneth Branagh's always very good. He was very good in Dunkirk, by the way, drop that movie in there. I'm just trying to think of other
Band
dramas.
of Brothers. Sorry, you mentioned Dunkirk.
Oh, yeah.
Band of Brothers. You ever see that? That was great.
again, I don't know how many seasons there were of it, but I watched a fair amount of it.
I think Band of Brothers is probably one of the first shows that you'd say is what they call the box set shows now.
Yeah. It was one of those early ones.
Your Breaking Bad, your Game of Thrones. I think Band of Brothers is possibly the groundbreaker for that format of TV, and that was HBO. So
it was pre-Sopranos, wasn't it? And it was like David Schwimmer's just come out of Friends, and now he's going to actually play a serious character, and people are like, oh, actually, he can act. I remember that being the big thing at the time, because everyone was like, he's the only famous person in it. I'm sure that's not true. If you look at the IMDb page, there's bound to be loads of famous people in it, but that was the hype at the time.
So is there anything coming out that you're looking forward to see?
More Game of Thrones? No. Well, the new season of Doctor Who, I'm intrigued to see. I have to finish off the last season as well. But I'm not very good at paying attention to stuff before it comes out. Like American Gods I was aware of well enough in advance such that I could read the book, because
I was aware of American Gods when it was being picked up by HBO. Followed it until they dropped it, and then Stars picked it up.
So I only heard when Stars picked it up.
That's how far in advance I was following American Gods.
Yeah, I really don't keep my ear to the ground on drama so much. It's just kind of, I tend to rely on friends' recommendations on, whatever pops up on Prime or Netflix.
Oh, speaking of friends' recommendations, everybody's been raving about Sense8.
Yep, I've heard of that. Again, that if it's past the threshold where I've heard of it, then it's probably good.
There's a whole bunch of stuff on Netflix. Sense8, The OA, and The Expanse. I've heard very good things about all three of those.
What was the other thing? Speaking of dramas, have you watched any of Mr. Robot?
I have not, but I've heard it's brilliant, along with Man in High Castle.
I haven't watched all of Mr. Robot. Again, these are both on Amazon Prime.
I've heard it's an anti-capitalism show.
Yeah, so the first season of Mr.
Funded by capitalism on a capitalist network.
Well, of course, but the first season of Mr. Robot was very good, and I'm like halfway through the second season.
Is he just insane, or...?
He has some issues, but he's also very clever. And there is this whole kind of, like, people around him who are kind of egging him on, and he's a hacker, basically. But he's not like one of those hackers you saw in movies like Swordfish, where they're like, oh, in 60 seconds I can blow up all the nuclear power plants, or some ridiculous plot like that. If you're a nerd and you're into your computers, you'll see him doing stuff that seems reasonable. That there may be some corners cut for dramatic effect, some artistic license, but it is that kind of side of things has been well researched, and it has a very good Christian Slater is in it as his dad, and that's a very good role.
So it's not just one of these, oh, I need to hack the mainframe.
No, so he's actually like a white hat security guy who works for a company trying to stop other hackers, but is himself a brilliant hacker. And then it's all about how he kind of changes sides and stuff like that, and gets involved with the wrong people. And I don't want to spoil it because it's worth watching. And there are, but
that's what makes drama a hard subject to talk about.
Yeah.
Because once you start getting into specifics, you worry about ruining it for everyone else.
Yeah, I'm not someone who feels like a spoiler will completely ruin a show for me.
Oh, see, I am. I actually stopped watching Prison Break when I got too many spoilers.
Too many might ruin a series for me, but like
or
vague
big
ones,
enough.
Yeah. So I mean, like, as soon as they announced who was going to be Ned Stark in Game of Thrones, I knew what was going to happen to him, even though I hadn't read the books yet, because Sean Bean, we know what happens to Sean Bean. I will put a link to what happens to Sean Bean in the show notes. There's a website which
So I've got a theory on Sean Bean,
yeah,
and it brings up another old TV drama. So I think that Sean Bean simply used up all of his lives not dying in Sharp.
Yes. Sharp, yes. He somehow survives every possible
because he definitely should have died in Sharp.
Oh yeah, every episode, times. Basically, no.
So, when people say Sean Bean dies and everything, no, he doesn't. But the balance must be redressed.
There is, again, it will end up in the show notes, there's a website that talks about Sean Bean dying, and there's also, I think, a graph comparing him to other actors, and I think he's only just ahead of someone like, I think John Hurt also dies a lot, because obviously John Hurt's first role was famously having an alien explode out of him in Alien, so,
Was that his first role, or just his first notable role?
It may be his first notable role. It's like how, in my head, David Tennant's first role was Blackpool, which is a BBC drama. Very good. But before that, he must have been in things. But it was like he had 3 or 4 things in one year. He was in Blackpool, which I love. He was in Casanova, which I love. He was in episode 4 of... Oh, no, this is pre-Hamlet. He was in Harry Potter 4 and then in Doctor Who, like, boom, 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 all in one year. And it was just like, who is this person? How have I never heard of him? But of course, he'd been acting for years before that. It's just that's when he suddenly hit that level of fame and got picked up by everything. And presumably, Blackpool, Casanova were like reasons he got spotted and then asked to do Doctor Who, you know. Those are both briefly mentioned. Blackpool, 6 episodes. If you haven't seen it, it's about a Scottish cop, David Tennant, investigating a murder in Blackpool, the town in England, and how he deals with meeting up with a character. Well, actually, he's not the main character. The main character is Thingy Morrissey, who's not Morrissey the singer, but the one who's an actor. This is like my mum describing actors to you. I've forgotten his name.
Neil Morrissey?
Not Neil Morrissey. The one who was also in that episode where he thinks he's the Doctor in one of the Christmas episodes. Presumably because they got to know each other in Blackpool. I'll put his name in the show notes. I'll link to him and Blackpool. But the thing that's great about this is it's a silly, like, each episode's 45 minutes an hour, 6 episodes, and it tells a story about how this guy's a casino. Well, he wants to become a casino owner. He owns an amusement arcade, and he wants to turn it into a casino because he's been to America, and that's the next big thing. But he's also a bit of a crook. But the thing that's great about it is it's also a musical, and they use famous songs, you know, like Don't Stop Me Now by Queen and things by Slade, you know, famous rock songs, but they have those pieces of music playing over the actors, like mouthing, kind of singing. They do sing, you hear their voices, but it's kind of synced up with the actual original track. And there's some brilliant scenes, like a sex scene with David Tennant and another character, which is all entirely to music. And it's just, it's kind of silly, but there's 6 episodes of it, so, you know, it's easy to watch.
We've had a good long conversation on dramas, the dramas we like, the dramas we haven't seen, and the dramas that we want to see. We'll move on to picking the next topic from the hat now.
Yes, give me a second
Tom,
to get everything ready.
If you'd like to draw a number.
Board games.
Oh, excellent. Will's going to be so excited.
As will Wade, I'm sure.
Okay, so the die has been cast. The next episode will be board games, a topic some of our friends are greatly passionate about. We can talk about what we've kickstarted, what's coming up, what we already own, and why we don't like cooperative multiplayer. I say we. I love cooperative multiplayer. Some people have issues.
Are you talking about Will there?
Not just Will. It's a common thing, and it's something we can definitely talk about in 2 weeks' time on the Hat of Many Things. Thank you for joining us. I've been Mike, and with me has been my friend
Tom.
Thank you all for joining us. It's been a pleasure once again. I'm going to leave Tom to edit this now. That's his glorious job. I just have to hopefully provide my dulcet tones and spectacular insights.
So we've got a few more listeners now, as far as I can tell, thanks to Mark advertising everything last week. People who are still listening, that's great. We're glad you're along for the ride. You'll have noticed we're doing different topics from week to week. If you're enjoying it, please go onto iTunes and give us a nice review. That's how the podcast gets found by more people, and we'd love for that to happen. We'd like to hear what people think. And, of course, go and put your suggestions on the website for topics to add to our already pretty long list. We're going to be talking for years to come.
Thank you for joining us. We've been Hat of Many Things, and we will see you soon.
That long pause while I finish my burger.
I thought it was just a difficult question.
Well, partly. But I also had to swallow.
That's what she said.
So, yeah.
Oh, it's taken us 4 episodes to make a That's What She Said joke.
That's impressive. I now have to leave that in because it took 4 episodes to make one.